So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's session on managing emotions. It's hosted by Brahma Kumari's Leicester. My name is Natalie. I'm going to take you through a series of slides, actually, where we're going to explore this interesting topic. It's a vast topic, but we're going to look at where emotions come from and why they come, and have some time for reflection in between, and then some methods that may work for us in dealing with our emotions. So yeah, it's self-reflective, so think of examples of in your own life that you can relate to what's being said. You can put anything in the chat throughout, but definitely at the end, we'll have a little bit of time towards the end to read out the chat, any comments. Nice to hear your comments and your thoughts or what's worked for you. Would be great. So yeah, we'll start with the slides. Yeah, great. Okay, great. So emotions, one aspect of emotions for me is that it's like an energy within me that's disturbed. It's a disturbed, unsettled energy, and that comes out in many ways, through my face, the way I look, through my eyes, through my mouth, and how I act. And so understanding, we're going to explore the difference between emotions and feelings. For me, feelings I'm seeing more on a positive level, whereas emotions more of a negative, reactive state where I'm not managing myself to my best of my ability. And there's just some ideas here, exploring where emotions come from and certain personality traits we have. So again, looking at emotions in a place which is unsettling, almost bordering on negative, and certain traits in our character can bring out emotion. We're all different. We all have different characters, a different personality, and that's shaped by many of life experiences that throughout this lifetime, and so which shapes my personality and my character through many, as we put there, past influences, but certain traits which are not to my advantage. It could be that a trait I get quite angry at times, and anger takes on many forms, from irritation to frustration, all aspects of anger. So it could be a trait that's within my character that's been developed over a period of time. And so again, we're just exploring where they come from, so we can start to almost dig a bit deeper and understand emotions. So definitely certain traits in our character. It could be looking at another trait, that I tend to complain or criticize. We might know people like this is true, but the whole aim really is about looking at ourselves in this session. But am I quite critical at times, or complain a lot? And these traits have come from many different places that I've developed over a period of time, but within my character. And therefore, if I easily get frustrated or irritated, then that is an emotion in itself, actually, but it will express itself through my mouth in the form of anger. Yeah. And again, when I use emotion to deal with things in my life, I'm not in the best place, unlikely to get the best outcome from something. So certain habits we may have that may generate emotion from us, certain habits, ways of doing things that we can only look at ourselves in this, habits we developed over a period of time of getting by. It might be there are many things we need to really look at ourselves on this, actually, but certain habits in my character, in the way I deal with things. I might be very fast in getting things done. I'm quick, the habit of speedily doing things, and so therefore when things aren't working out as quick as I want them to, then I become emotional. I react, which leads to the next one, really. Reaction is an emotion, and the aim of what we're learning here is to be able to act, to work in a way that's more positive, more self-reflective. I'm more managing myself better. When I come from a place of negativity through a personality trait or habit within me, then I'm likely to react to something. There's no pause. Something's not going maybe as I'd like it to go, so I make that comment, or I show that through what I'm doing, or maybe lots of thoughts. Someone says something that doesn't suit me, so immediately I react back. I say something without even thinking. And we know, there's a saying, 2 wrongs never make a right. So yes, someone maybe said something unpleasant to me, and my reply is something pleasant back. But if we're all, honest with ourselves, is that the best way of coming to a solution, a compromise, or sorting something out? And yes, you can say, well, they said that, and so I have every right to say something back. But in the moment when we do react, we may feel a sense of, oh, I've said how I feel and I feel better about it. But later on, as we know, when we've reacted after the situation, we come away with many more emotions. One of them could be guilt. One of them could be regret. And it's interesting that maybe someone said something unpleasant to me, but I am feeling the emotion of how I handled it. So yes, they weren't nice, but actually my dealing with that was a reaction which wasn't nice back. Maybe I said, shouted back at them. They shouted at me, I shouted back, but I'm left with the residue of my own reaction. And that eventually weighs heavy on me, and that emotion generates many more negative feelings inside. So nice to look at this as, let me act rather than react. But I need to see these reactions that are coming from me. The emotion is coming from a reaction. It's not that pause, there's not that thought. It's just in the moment they get back what they've given me. We all know about this, but really, I'm not in my power. I'm not in a space where I'm managing myself when I react. And I could find myself in deeper waters, even though I didn't start it. And so we really want to be in a place where we are managing ourselves, which we will explore. Is everything all right? Yeah? Good. Yeah. Okay. And so beliefs, certain beliefs that we may have about ourselves or others can generate emotions. For an example, I might have a belief in myself that I'm not good enough. And yeah, that may come from how I've been brought up, or the people around me that have always put me down or said I'm not good enough, or I don't live up to their expectations. So then there's kind of a trait in me that has a lack of self-worth. I don't think I'm good enough. And then from that belief, which actually isn't true, as we'll explore later, we are all good, we all have potential. And to come from a place of lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem, really is a place which generates so much emotion, that I really need to address some of my beliefs about myself or about others that actually create a lot of emotion inside of myself. I become emotional if I'm put in a place, I don't think good of myself, and then I'm in a situation which highlights that, and that just can generate, for no reason at all, feelings of nervousness, feelings of worry, feeling uncomfortable in certain situations because of my belief that I'm not good enough. And we are all good enough, but we are different. But what happens is, if I'm feeling nervous in a situation, I will often think it's because of where I am or the external circumstances around me. And so what we're looking at here is recognizing and start spending time in seeing that I have a belief about myself that I'm not good enough, and that could be triggered when I'm put in uncomfortable situations. It's not so much about the situation, it's about the belief I have of myself. This kind of all relates, it's all kind of connected in a way. Put here uncontrolled nature. When we're emotional, we can't control ourselves. It's all linked really in many ways, but I deal with things without thinking things through. I don't pause often. I'm not so self-reflective, and then I'm always reacting, or I'm always dealing things without much self-reflection, and that really brings a lot of emotions up. So I'm not controlling myself very well. Of course, in particular negative situations, I'm not, something happens and I just fly off the handle, or I shout, or I maybe get upset, or I cry, and I can't control myself. And in time, this becomes like my nature, personality trait that's I've developed over a period of time. I'm very emotional. Now, if I deal with any situation with emotion, I'm not in the best place to handle it, and I'm not in the best place to put my point of view across, and also to be heard. If you're tearful and trying to say how you feel, it's hard for people to hear us, and I'm not clear. I lose all clarity. I'm confused inside. This is all going on. This nature of emotion doesn't allow me to be clear in my speech, in what I want to put across, but also my thoughts. It's just a mishmash of disturbance within, and it doesn't feel very comfortable. And so just the final one here, past influences. We can be impacted by people and situations from the past, which, if a similar situation or maybe a particular person that I see can trigger so much emotion within me from the past, it brings up things unsettled, unsorted, and that can come up in the form of emotion. Even thinking about something, I'm not in front of that person, or I'm not in a challenging situation, but I remember it and emotion comes up. This is where some emotions can come from. So let's look at the next slide. So why do they come? Again, reinforcing what's been said, external triggers. When I'm feeling unsettled, a bit disturbed, a bit upset, when I'm in that, my mind is in that confused state, I'll automatically think it's something out there or someone that's making me feel like this. And what we're learning here is that what that person or situation in front of me, what's happening, is a trigger. It's triggered what's already within me, the negativity, the sadness, the worry, the fear, the self-doubt, the lack of self-worth, maybe the ego, the arrogance, whatever, the mixture of emotions that come up. Something outside has triggered what's in me. And so this leads to the next one. It's a lack of self-awareness that triggers the emotions in me. When we start to understand ourselves a bit more deeply, that I am this human being, and the human bit and the roles that I play and my whole physical world around me and the people in my life, that is the human part of me. But the part that thinks, that feels, the sense of self. Now, it's so important to work with developing this sense of the inner self, whatever you want to call it, the soul, the being, the inner self, is to keep in check with that as much as I can in the day. If I'm not connected to myself and I lose myself in the world around me, and that happens, we get engrossed in things or obsessed by things, or I forget myself in whatever's going on around me, then likely when something happens from the outside, that external trigger, emotions come up. Now, if I'm not in touch with myself, then I'm almost disconnected from the being, myself, my thoughts, my feelings. Then what will come up, which is all the negative stuff that's sitting there ready, all the emotion. And then I can't control that. And then what will I say? What will I do? We know that scenario. So the importance of seeing that I needed to reconnect with the being and myself so that I can manage myself. Why do they come? Expectations, again, a very big one. We, in our relationships with others, that we expect them to understand us, to see things as we do. We expect things to be a certain way, and yet really when things don't work out as I want them to do, what happens? I get emotional. I may say something sharp, I react, I may get upset, and the emotion comes out and we display that. You know, they say expectations lead to disappointment. We get disappointed, we feel let down again and again, and sometimes it's the same thing in a relationship that keeps reoccurring, and I'm not addressing it. I get emotional, and that emotion blinds me to me looking at myself, me evaluating what's going on within me. That expectation, then the emotion comes. I won't think to stop and think, what's happening in me at this time? Yes, someone's done something, they haven't done it how I liked it to be done, or they promised they'd do it and they didn't. Stop. I'm feeling very uncomfortable inside. I'm very upset inside. So where's that feeling coming from? That emotion, it's coming from within me. It's an expectation I have, and that comes in the form of emotion. Do I want this? Do I want to feel like this? So no, I don't, because then I'm not in my power. I'm not in control. I may say or do something to make things worse. And I'm the one that's suffering, actually. And so we start to think that everyone is different. We all come with our own set of experiences, life experiences, our own personality. Even though we may be very close to somebody, we are still different. So expectation, I really have to work on reducing that, seeing it, understanding it and reducing it. And it all comes from a lack of understanding. We expect others to see with the same eyes as me, but do they? Do they ever? We're all so different. And how they look at me, people may have expectations of me, but they're seeing me through their eyes. Yeah, we can see that sometimes, can't we? We can see when people are emotional towards me, you can start to see it's their expectations of me, and I'm not meeting them. But very hard to, because we are all so different. So it's a lack of understanding, a lack of wisdom almost, that I keep coming under emotion. When I'm emotional, I don't see clearly. And understanding, well, understanding's out the window. It's all everyone else's fault and not mine, and it's all too much. And, and it grows, doesn't it? It escalates. So something else I put here is short-term results, blame. You know, sometimes we want things to happen the way we want them and quickly. You know, again, from my perspective, it should be like this and it should happen. Maybe you could call this impatience in a way. We want things to work out and with a certain time frame, and they don't, because we're dealing with people, we're dealing with groups of people, we're dealing with certain circumstances. And so then I will blame. You know, when I'm blaming, I'm in an emotional state. It's they're the ones that have done this. They said this, that's why I'm feeling like this. They upset me. He said this is why I'm feeling like this. She did that, that's why I'm feeling emotional. And so again, this blame clouds my judgment. I think we have to be careful. We mustn't criticise. We're learning not to criticise and be negative, but be careful. We have to judge what's going on. And the judgment starts with myself. And when I'm in this more self-aware, I start to see that I'm blaming others. I'm emotional, and immediately we go into that blame game of blaming others for the way I'm feeling. I'm feeling upset because of you. You know, we point the 3 fingers, and it's because of you I'm feeling like this. And the other 3, where are they coming? They're pointing at myself, not to blame myself, but take responsibility for how I'm feeling. I'm emotional, I'm upset. I'm you know, there's a saying, you're your own worst enemy and your own best friend. So I'm not looking after myself very well at the moment. Yeah. So the first step to change actually is to see it. This is a journey, and I think it's a big journey, and a long journey in a way, because we carry a lot of things with us, all of us. We carry from wherever, and it's all sitting within us in the mind. And so it's a journey well worth being on. And so when I'm blaming others for how I'm feeling in a negative way, then there's no judgment, and it's all their fault. We know this, don't we? We quite kind of enjoy it sometimes. You know, it's your fault, and you did this, and we're very quick, aren't we, to relay what happened yesterday and last week and last month and last year, and it all goes on, and it all comes up. Where's it been sitting? I've been carrying that. You know, I've been carrying that, and we have to work at almost clearing out what's in there, the negativity within us. And this, we'll talk about some methods of how we can clear that out. But this blame, it just doesn't serve any purpose. And we live in a world where we're encouraged to point the finger. It's always someone else's fault, and we can hide away. But I'm looking at everyday circumstances and finding ways of, when I see that I'm blaming, let's not blame myself, but just look at what's going on. There's negative emotion. I want something to happen in a certain period of time. It's not. How am I going to deal with that? I need a different approach. So I've also put here the influence of the atmosphere. Sometimes a certain atmosphere can generate emotion. You know, if there's been an argument, you walk into a room where there's been trouble or conflict or an argument, we can pick that up. Yeah, we sense it, and it can make us emotive, or people close to us are a little bit upset or disturbed, and it's amazing how we can start feeling that. We're stepping into their shoes, and then that's no help to anybody really, that I'm under the influence of the atmosphere, another person that's been affected by it. But when I start to develop positive self-awareness, I connect with myself, the being and my qualities, I come into my own power of who I really am, then I can come into a certain atmosphere and not be under the influence of it, and in fact maybe make a difference in a positive way. But before any of that, I've got to be careful that I don't come under the influence, things that may trigger what's already within me. And a big one also is my own weaknesses can be triggered. I can be feeling all right, and then I'm around somebody or something, maybe someone who's a bit angry or a bit whatever. They might not even be directing it at me, but it's amazing how their state of mind, what they're saying, can trigger something negative in me, and it brings up my own weaknesses. Yeah, so they're there. But here we are, understanding them, recognising them, working on them, wanting to reduce them, to recognise that I have weaknesses within me. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm not good. All of us are good. All of us have potential. Within our whole character, there is the good and the not so good, the weakness and the strength. That's the whole of me. That's the whole package. And so I'm working on, yes, developing my strengths, increasing them, and not to increase my weaknesses. Yeah, we want to see them, understand them, and start moving away from them, because they serve no purpose. We sometimes think if we can get lost in a bit of moaning and groaning, and okay, in that moment you feel a bit better for having a good old moan with somebody, and then but later on, how do you feel? Low energy? You feel a bit unsettled? So no. So we recognise we've got weaknesses. I'm good and I have weaknesses, but let me work on reducing them so they're not triggered, because as they're triggered, then out come emotions. Okay, hope you're all with me so far. Next slide. So here's a moment for reflection. So just to pause, it's nice just to look at nature for a moment and to think, is there anything in me, some emotion that I recognise just through this time together this evening, that I see in myself, that there's a trick that gets triggered from something outside and comes up that's not pleasant, that I don't want. What is it? Let's just think about it and then start recognising it, but not feeling bad about it, but recognising it, and just being with it for a moment, yeah? If it's a situation, is there any way I can handle it a bit better? Can I deal with it differently next time? Just think about that. Or a certain person, can I speak to them or have a vision of them in a different way? So it's so good just to pause every now and then. Reflection, meditation, contemplation, sit with yourself, maybe write something or just reflect. If you had a situation which was a bit uncomfortable, sit with it, think it through. Try not to be so disturbed by it. Maybe you are, that's fine. But it's like, can I pose some questions like, how can I handle that differently next time? How will I work with it in a new way, in a positive way? Just it's worth doing this kind of work on the self. We're starting to come out then of our emotional state. Next slide. Yeah, because I think it's not that we're, it's some work to be done to change, to work on ourselves. But this process of just being aware of it is the first step, actually. So I just wanted to run through what is the difference between feelings and emotions. And this is something that you may be okay with. It is fine. It's just some ideas for you to reflect on. And here, what we're saying is that feelings, like good feelings, come from my true nature, my true state of being, and they're deep. This is the core of me, actually. Peace, love, joy, wisdom, power, purity. This is what I am. And why do I say this is what I am? Because all of us strive for these things, don't we? All of us want to have happiness and joy. We want to understand, have wisdom. We want to experience love and peace. And we don't go on courses to learn about anger, do we? Or how to be more angry, how to be more miserable. We don't. We learn about self-development and the courses we're on to develop these positive attributes, yeah? So we want them. And also, we wouldn't want something that we never had. We wouldn't crave for peace if we'd never really had it. And for most of us, we have moments of peace. It's not constant. It's momentary. It comes and it goes. It flits in our life and goes away. Why is that? Often because we're looking on the outside for these things and we can't maintain it. So what we're saying here is, when I have the understanding that I am peace, I am love, I am joy, happiness. This is what I am. This is the core of my being. And just reconnect with those qualities, especially when I'm going through some emotion or some upheaval, rather than go into the emotion, understand it. Yes, the first step is to understand it, but also to remind myself that I'm not this. I am peace. I am love. There's a part of me that's the purity of me, is the pristine part of me, a part of me that cannot be influenced, that's so powerful, knows everything, but it's deep. It's deep, but it's there. And we need to emerge it. But that's who I really am. And from there rises all the good feelings I could ever wish for. And there's more stability in that. Now, emotions, they come from here, we're saying a false identity connected to a physical awareness, hurt, past influences. So I think I'm someone, I am the being, the soul, the self, the human being. I'm the spiritual self playing a physical part. I'm in this physical world. But when I over-identify with my roles, of my positions I may have, this kind of physical awareness leads to activating, and here, anger, ego, greed, attachment, desires. I think I am very good. I relate to, I am such and such. I have this title, then I can become arrogant about that. And then I can look down on others because I think I'm better because of my maybe qualification or my position in the world. And my roles, if I over-identify with them, I'm a mother, I'm, my husband, wife, I over-identify with these, then attachment can come. And that's where the expectation can come as well. I'm attached to my role, and I expect others to support me in my role, and I expect maybe my children to be perfect. To be, and if they're not, then I'm not a perfect mother. These are just examples, really. But this whole over-identification with the role, because this brings emotion, because none of us are perfect, and we're all trying to do our best, but we're not living up to what others expect from us. And this brings, as we said earlier, the expectation brings a lot of emotion. That's because there's attachment in me, because I'm over-identifying with my role, that I am whatever I am, the roles that we play. And so it's coming back to, who am I then? I am the peace, the love, joy. This is all me, and it's deep. I am the soul, the being, the self. So that these emotions, they appear to be deep, but they're not. They're more surface-based, in a sense that the part of me, the truth, the core of my being, is all these beautiful qualities. And yes, the anger and the ego and all the emotions that come from that stem from that, that stem from that, appear deep, because that's what comes up first, isn't it? If in a relationship and someone does something I don't like, then I will react to that, and it's a constant reaction, and it feels very deep. It feels like that's coming from me. It is coming from me, but it's not the true self. Who I truly am is much more than these emotions and these reactions. So they come often from hurt, past hurt, whether someone has hurt me or I've hurt somebody else, brings up a lot of emotion. But all these negative qualities, they're in me, but they're not me. So just understanding where emotions come from. Many emotions. When I'm angry, we're very emotional. Yeah. How do we like we said earlier, we react, we don't think, we're not in control. We know what can happen. You say something that we then regret, or we do something we see in the world. Some of the things that have happened, serious incidences, that stem from a bout of anger. Someone's done something very bad because they were so angry, they lost all sense of themselves. They were so disconnected from their true self that they lost themselves and did something in an anger, which is really they're paying the consequences for. We know what goes on in the world. And my ego also, I think, what is ego? It's not identifying with my true self. I am peace, I am love, I am joy. I'm not my position. I'm not how I look. I'm so much more than that. But if someone attacks how I look, or if they go against the physical, then I get upset about that. My ego comes into play, or I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not clever enough. This is all ego also. I am peace. I am love. I am joy. And then I work. Then I do everything related to the physical, of course. But good feelings come from a sense of who I am. Okay, so let's move on. Here's just some thoughts. I've shared a lot already, but we can just go over them. How to manage our emotions and make that change. You know, I think something that's very important is that I have to have some determined thoughts now, because it will feel like a battle of working with our emotions. Yeah, we've worked with them for so long, we've used them in so many situations. So this determined thought, I have to change. So work on myself is fueled by this power of determination and an interest also. I want to change myself. I want to improve myself. In a sense, I am what I am. I do what I do, but in a sense, reduce my emotions, come more into feeling, really come from a place of who I really am. So that interest, almost like in one session we did, someone said, hobby, make this your hobby, which was a really nice comment from somebody, a hobby of self-development, a hobby to free myself from my emotional baggage. Also, what we got here is a use of the right method. You know, when we have fear come up, or there's a reaction, or there's worry, what's the method that I'm using? If I find that I do worry a lot, and if I'm worrying about my worrying, that's not the method to reduce it, is it? So positive self-talk is very good. Where I talk to myself instead of putting myself down, telling myself I'm no good. This just evokes more emotion, actually. I am good. Everything is good. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, maybe I'm emotional, maybe I am worrying, but to keep on thinking about that is not the answer. Positive self-talk to almost neutralize some of that worrying that's going on. Understanding, so another way of changing, repeated use of emotions, understand what that can do to me. Well, they become habits, they become my character. And then it becomes almost default to worry, default to get angry. So to understand that, when I truly understand how bad something is for me, I won't do it. When I really click to something that's not healthy for me, I won't do it. So I need to understand the damage of using emotions, how it's affecting me. Another aspect to this is to understand the lesson and the learning behind the emotion coming up. Something comes up, I'm feeling it. What can I learn from this? What's going on here? They've said something, I'm feeling uncomfortable, there's an emotion there. What's the learning here for me? How can I prepare myself better in this situation? Maybe I know someone who's going to provoke me. So maybe I prepare mentally. I set my mindset in a different space before I meet them. I prepare. So what's the learning? See, again, emotions coming up. It's like, see the emotion in myself, and I don't want this anymore. I want to be free from this. So again, it's using another angle of looking at myself. Rather than blame, rather than putting myself down, what's the learning? So is there some unmet need in me that I need to address? Yeah, we need to, when we spend time in reflection, getting to know ourselves a bit better, is there something that I feel I need and I'm not getting? I need to see that. And maybe I don't feel I'm being listened to in a certain situation, or I'm not being given respect that I feel I deserve. I need to look at that. What is that? And understand it. Otherwise, it's sometimes in situations, it's the same old things happening. I'm not changing, same situation I'm reacting to. So understand what is lacking in me. There's something that I need, and we all need to be listened to. So how can I work with that? I need to explore that. Understand the value of maintaining my inner strength to act rather than react. Again, as I talked about, my inner power. When I'm reacting, I'm getting upset, then I'm not in my power. Actually, I make myself vulnerable. That's, if someone is giving me a hard time for whatever reason, the moment I react, I've given my power to them, and then they can continue doing that, and I can lose my strength. So when I stay in my power, I keep my thoughts positive. I see the emotion coming up, but I don't express it. And I remind myself that I've got to stay calm, stay peaceful. When I hold my inner power, my strength, and then I can manage my emotions, I won't react. And then I'm not vulnerable in a challenging situation. I don't become weak. It appears someone that's angry at me, they may appear weak. Sorry, they may appear strong, like the bully. They may appear powerful, but actually the sign of anger is a sign of weakness. But I kind of get scared because they seem so powerful, so bossy, so, domineering. And I succumb to that. But actually, that's a sign of weakness. Negativity is a sign of weakness. So if I keep my positive mindset, I'm careful with my emotions, I hold on to my inner strength, I don't react, and then I can manage myself with maybe a very strong personality. So anger is a sign of weakness. Keeping my cool is a sign of strength. To remain steady and ride the emotions and watch them pass. So again, if I'm in my power, if I'm in that positive state, I can, sometimes it's very amazing if you're feeling very uncomfortable, if you can sit with it, if you can, and you can watch it. It's like a storm comes and goes. This takes some work actually, but it's possible that I can feel very uncomfortable, and instead of buying into that emotion, I sit and see it. Like the next one, name it. I sit, there's some anger coming up in me, and I sit with it. This anger, I don't want it. I want to be free from this. And as I can sit with it and observe it, it's like that observation almost dilutes it a bit. And it's possible it can pass. This is something that can work, but takes some little bit of courage to try this out. Because if you're angry, you're going to let it out. It's obvious. It will be at someone who's near you. They'll get the brunt of it. But if I feel the anger coming up, bubbling up inside of me, and I can just sit with it, I see it, and it's coming from me. I'm not bad, but I'm seeing it. I kind of name it almost, and but I keep creating good thoughts. I don't want this anger, but I'm doing okay. I am calm. I want to be peaceful. And by that observation, actually can dilute it. It's very interesting. Okay, next slide. Again, let's pause. Anything that you thought was quite interesting that you could work with or use for yourself, just think about that for a minute. Just there you are on the edge of the water, looking out your whole life behind you, in front of you. What methods could you use to work with that will help you deal with a challenging situation on the basis of what we've heard? Just pause for a moment, yeah. Okay, great. Nice just to stop and reflect and think. Next slide. Sometimes so busy we don't have time for this. Just some other methods to share again. Just checking points. I check myself throughout the day. Keep checking in with yourself. What's going on? How are you feeling inside? And often, sometimes when as I've said, we're emotional, we're not even aware we are until we start feeling bad or a bit low or a bit down, and then we realise. But if I'm checking myself throughout the day, I can catch myself before I go right down, sink down, and then I feel not good at all. Yeah. So it's like checking in with myself. you know, it's so easy, like we say, observe my inner world rather than look at others. It's so easy to look at others and what they're doing or not doing or how they're behaving or seeing their anger. So, okay, I see it and it's going on. But again, really developing this art of observing my own inner world. There's a whole world going on, and my inner world will definitely impact my outer world. And so to observe, this time to observe, even when I'm doing things, I can still be checking in with myself and reduce my observation of the world out there, really. Yeah, because that can evoke so many emotions, looking at others, yeah, and what they're doing. And so really, again, this whole aim of understanding what's going on within me, really getting to know myself so well, really connecting to me. What am I reading? You know, so we might like to read a novel that makes us cry, but actually every time I cry or I get upset, I'm evoking that emotion of sadness, which actually is not that healthy. And it can, sadness is not the best of emotions. It's a low energy emotion again. But what am I reading? Do I read things that uplift me, make me feel better, inspire me? If I'm feeling a bit down, then write those thoughts down. Sometimes it works for people, sometimes not. It's called journaling now. It's amazing. Some people say when they write what's going on in their mind, they put it to paper, it helps and it stops them from throwing it out at somebody else. They get it on paper rather than throwing it in a not the best way to somebody else. So write your thoughts down and then look at them. You can learn something from them. What are my words like? How am I speaking? You know, if we speak with complaints and criticism and negativity and waste, this can evoke emotion or low feeling. And so how do I speak? It's just checking in. These are just questions to pose to the self, really. And my vision, how am I seeing others in the world around me? Yeah, we're in very uncertain times. There are many challenges. And we have to acknowledge that and see that, of course. But when I see others and people I connect with, am I quite critical or negative about them and the world around me? I acknowledge what's going on, but let me keep myself positive. Let my vision be positive, because I can help the world in a way by adding some positivity and lightness to the world, rather than I meet someone, all I talk about is the current world situation, and we both bring each other down. So it's like, how do I see through these eyes? Let me acknowledge what's going on, but see the good and talk about the good. It's important to encourage and inspire each other. An atmosphere. It's very interesting. Whatever I think, which means attitude, I generate an energy around me which creates an atmosphere. So again, when we're emotional, negative thoughts and all the things we've talked about, it generates an energy around me, a vibration, which is, we want a vibration and energy around us which is full of enthusiasm or lightness of spirit, a good energy. You know, we like to be around people that are vibrant and happy and light-hearted in a way, you know, that have some humor about them also. So again, that all comes from my attitude. Actually, I generate that atmosphere around me through the attitude and the thoughts I have. And so I might be in certain atmospheres which aren't so happy and friendly and whatever, but then I can, at least with my attitude and my thoughts, generate the thoughts that are different to that. And maybe I can make a difference, but anyway, at least in my mind, I work with thoughts, as it says next, high or low energy thinking. My thoughts, I am positive, I am peaceful, I am powerful, everything's okay, I can do it, it's, you know, we can manage, you know, everything's fine, it's, I think like this, I speak like this. These are high thinking, and each thought is energy. And so high energy means energy which actually brings good feelings. It brings the feelings of peace, of love, of joy. This is what emerges from that. And the thoughts of criticism and fear and doubt and negativity, low energy thinking, a low energy, which makes me feel down, and that provokes all the emotions that are in me. And so the way I think is such a good tool to generate good energy and take me out of an emotion that may be coming up in me. Actually, if it's coming up, then this positive self-talk that really, even though I may be struggling, to say I'm struggling is not going to help me. Yes, I am struggling, I acknowledge that, but it's okay. And I might have to fight with myself to have these thoughts, but they're slowly taking me out of a low state. It's okay, I can do this, everything's going to be fine, I'm good, they're good, this is okay, no problem, I'm learning something from this. What am I learning? I am peaceful, I am powerful. This at least it can help to move me, take one step, even if it's a step away from emotion. And of course, as we've been talking regularly about, reflection, meditation, contemplation, finding some time for myself every day, a little time to reflect. I prepare for my day ahead, I create some good thoughts in my meditation, maybe I listen to a commentary, or I create a meditation for myself. And then also at the end of the day to reflect on my day, and if I'm not feeling so good, I'm feeling down, to what went on there, what happened there. I got angry, well, what was the external trigger? It came up in me, but why was that? So I explore that a bit more and just sit with myself. And when I'm calm and settled inside, there is clarity. I see the things that I couldn't see before. When emotion is not in the way and I feel settled inside, it's like, we say I see, don't we? That means I understand. Oh gosh, they said something and I reacted big. And then I might think, well, actually what they said was so small. It was a small thing, but I really blew it. So I can look at it and work it out and think, right, I have to change. It was something small and I made a big deal of it. And then, but not be hard on myself, but work on changing that scenario. So meditation is also about looking at myself and reflecting and learning in that calm, quiet time. Really, when I'm steady and calm inside, I see myself a whole lot clearly. Next slide, please. Yeah. Just a few other things, just to think about lifestyle, how I live my life is very, very important. Lifestyle, and which includes all these things actually as well. So lifestyle, diet, what I eat. Some foods, some sugary foods can give us a power buzz, but for how long? So it's like looking at the foods I eat, vegetables and healthy foods and cooked foods that I know what's gone in there, how I cook, how I eat, where I eat, very important. How do I cook with love and with peace and not with emotion? I feed the food with how I feel inside. So let me feel loving as I cook. And how I eat, do I eat that mindfully, carefully, and not in an emotional state, which I won't even be aware of how that's impacting my body. I won't even know if I've had enough food. And where I eat, again, with a sandwich in one hand and maybe hand on the steering wheel, I don't know. It's like to stop and eat and let that food go into the body and help nourish the body. And here we've got water. Am I drinking enough water? And the right amount of drinks. Certain drinks can, make me very emotional. A lot of alcohol can, really make people emotional. So these are things to consider. Sleep. Yeah, we don't get enough sleep. We feel irritable, don't we? We don't feel happy with ourselves. Am I getting enough sleep? And exercise, even if that's a walk, and back to regular meditation, regular reflection, time for myself, come back to me, really connect with myself. A way to free myself from all the emotions that can be triggered, that come from within me, is to be connected to myself, be in my power, keep that self-awareness, remind myself of my qualities, emerge positive self-talk within me. This is so important, that balance of all the things here, but as the balance of, yes, we work, yes, we have things to do in our life, family, social, etc., but also that time for me, well spent. This is time not wasted, and it doesn't have to, it's not hours, we don't have hours in the day, but I give some time every day for being with myself and empowering myself. And I'm not dependent on anyone else to do that for me. So yeah, next slide. So let's just finish with a reflection. Just a few thoughts that as we look at nature here, how beautiful nature is. Seasons, the season of autumn, but it will change. Everything's constantly changing around me on the outside. And so if I try and work with that change, that can generate a lot of emotion, people, situations. It's not a straight road, life. And so I have to manage the outside by looking after myself from the inside. So I give some time to reflection, meditation every day, remind myself of my own goodness, that I am special, I am good. There's strengths in me, let me use them. And there's also weaknesses, but I'm on that journey, that path of working on myself, understanding myself better. Not disheartened. I acknowledge the weakness that brings out emotion, but I'm working on myself. I remind myself of my specialities, the things that I'm good at, my achievements, and also the qualities of my character. Each one of us is good. Each one of us are powerful in our own right. And as I connect to that being, that part of me, the inner, the self, the soul, the spirit, then I become self-aware. I'm in my power then, and I can manage myself, manage every part of my personality. So let's just pause and think of what's one thing I'm going to take away, or something that I'm going to work with or going to bring into my life from today. Let's just pause for a moment. Okay, thank you. Great. So if you want to put anything in the chat, any comment, any question, if you'd like to, if not, that's fine. Nice to hear from you, if you took any benefit from it. Okay, I don't think, dear, there's nothing in the chat now.
No, but if anyone feels free, feel free to share.
It's something I read today. It's a book that I've been given actually, and it says, "What's your best discovery?" asked the mole. It's a book, a storybook. "That I'm enough as I am," said the boy. So that I'm enough as I am. So we are enough. We're all enough. Yeah, we can improve, but we're all enough as we are. Have that self-respect. So it's yeah. Right. Good. Good. Dear, do you want to share anything before we finish, if you'd like to say anything?
Yeah, I actually really liked the point about let me act rather than react. And we often don't realize how important it is to take a pause. And sometimes when you look back at situations and you think, if I took a pause, the reaction would have been different. So I think that's really important, and I'd like to take that forward.
Nice, lovely, thank you. Great, thank you, great. Thank you. Well, good luck on your journey, everyone, and wishing you best as you reduce your emotions and discover the best of you. So take care. And I think we have a talk this Friday on Brahma Kumari's Leicester website. There's a every Friday talk, and every weekend we have different courses, which I'm sure you all know about. But anyway, all the best and take care and have a good weekend. Bye.